Hey guys, Dom here, back with another video about Legends, but today I'll be reviewing the legendary cards that were added with the Jaws of Oblivion expansion, as I feel like I might as well do a bit of content like that while I'm building up my collection with the new set. So as I did with Alliance War, I'm going to split up each of the kind of cards to their attributes, and I'll put neutral and the multi-attributes together as there weren't as many as there were last time I did this. Sorry if I skipped out Moons of Elsewhere. I can come back to that if this video gets, like, say, and I'll put timestamps to each section in the description of this video, just I don't know what they'll be yet. So, starting with Strength, we have Kindreave Champion, Lord of the Arena, and Modron Owen. So, obviously we'll go left to right, and our first one, Kindreave Champion, is a 4-cost, 4/3, which whenever he takes damage, he also deals that much to your opponent. This could be really good for kind of buffing decks, where they're going to be hitting stuff, having units take a lot of damage, but just surviving on, as that means that Kindreave Champion could go up against a big unit and then deal that damage right back at the opponent, which is going to be nice for those aggro decks, which are usually strength. So I think he's a pretty good card, and we might see him around here and there, and as he's not unique, you can have up to 3 in your deck. So those who like to spend their money might really like him. Plus, he has one of my favourite card arts of the set. Next, we have Lord of the Arena, which is an 11-cost 8/8, which allows you to battle 2 creatures on anywhere in the field. This is very, very good, depending on your opponent's setup. If they've got, say, a lethal creature and, I don't know, like Odovine, any huge unit, and you force those 2 to battle each other, you've just removed 2 of your opponent's strongest units simultaneously from summoning a card. So, removal-wise, again, I think this is just a really good card and an excellent addition for the strength set of legendaries. And once again, it's also non-unique, so you can have up to 3 of them. Finally, we have Modron Owen, and he's a 4-cost 4/4 breakthrough, so that's going to be easy to remember. And he has the ability to summon a hoodlum in each lane of your opponents, which when destroyed, buff up Owen. So this is a really cool idea, which is going to allow you to have one much stronger unit, which strength obviously really likes, but your opponent can easily just defend the Blackwood units with guards, and yes, you could use, say, your weaker removal cards like Execute later on in the game on those hoodlums to buff up your unit and give it breakthrough. Overall, I think he's a really nice idea, but he's just too vulnerable to removal, so I don't think he'll get played that much. Next with Agility, we have some really interesting legendaries. And starting off with Bloody Hand Chef, it's another 2/2/2 kind of card, so easy to remember. And when you reduce an enemy's creature's power or health with any effect whatsoever, he gains that much power or health depending on what you drained. I can see this fitting in really well to a certain Goblin deck, just because of a lot of the cards doing give a creature -1/-1, and cards like Shearpoint Dragon really working well with it. But other than that, it's not really going to have that much of an effect, and as it requires certain cards to kind of bounce off, it's probably not going to be the best card. But then again, goblins aren't really the most professional archetype at the moment in the game. Next we have Unicorn, which is a 2/3 3-cost beast, which allows all your friendly creatures with less power in the same lane as this card to have charge. With buffs, this card can become insane. Realistically though, you're not going to be buffing it to double digits, as that would just be too out of this world. But you're going to be buffing it enough in the correct deck where this just becomes a bit of hassle for your opponent. And even if you can't buff it that much, still early game, just everything in an aggro deck will put on a lot of pressure to your opponent. Finally, we have the Grey Fox, which on summon draws a card from your opponent's discard pile of your choice, which is what makes it really good. And he has Pilfer, reveal a random unrevealed card from your opponent's hand, which is just a nice bit of information to collect, really, so you can kind of plan around what they've got in their hand. Moving on to Endurance, we have Faded Wraith, Miscreant, Lich, and Umaril the Unfeathered. Faded Wraith is a kind of draw power card, which, if you can buff correctly with, say, rally cards or other ones that just hand buff, this can draw you a good, maybe realistically 3 or 4 cards. But if not, it is just a 5-cost 1/3 draw a card, which isn't that good, unless obviously with buffs then it becomes really nice and an excellent card, especially as you can have up to 3 in your deck. Moving on to Miscreant Lich. This way you summon, choose an enemy creature, and at the start of your turn, if it's still alive, you can summon a 1/1 Risen Dead with Guard. It's a cool idea, it's just I think it would work a lot better and be a lot more useful if it was at the end of your turn instead of the start, just because that now means that it doesn't guarantee at least 1 Risen Dead, so your opponent can just easily focus it for 1 turn and have its effect completely ruined. Although, yes, you could be then like, oh, but then it's good for baiting out your opponent's removal. Is it though? It's a legendary, so you've just spent a lot of your collection on it. I don't really think it's the best of legendaries. And finally, Umral the Unfeathered is a 6/3 guard, which, when he leaves play, gets resummoned in the other lane silence. Because it's worded leaves play, not sent to the graveyard, I think he's a really good card, as overall he does just become a 12/6 once with guard for 6 cost, which is overall very worth it. Moving on to Willpower, in my controversial opinion, I believe they got given the worst legendaries, overall that is. So first we got Worldly Wanderer, which is a 5 cost 3/5, and when summoned you can choose a support from your deck, which costs less than he does. So that starts off at just a 2 cost, which is very limiting, but obviously with some hand buffs and some good like board play, you can get it up to maybe about 4 or 5, which can grab you some nice cards, I guess, but I just don't really see him as the best of cards at the level he is. Next we have Invasion Party, which is a 4 cost, and you get to choose up to 3 times, invade or summon a 1/1 scamp. As I have had very little experience with the invade mechanic so far, this doesn't seem that good to me. I mean, for the actual invasion deck, this might be something really nice to pull off on a turn, as it will be leveling up their Oblivion Gate and summoning Daedra units at the same time, which obviously includes board presence and buffs, which could be cool and whatnot, but I then again just don't really see it that good. Finally we have Joffrey, who's a 5 cost 3/9, which is good stats, but his ability isn't that good, as you choose a friendly creature and whenever it be damaged, Joffrey takes it instead. A nice ability at first when you think about, say, how you got a big guard and you just want it to last a lot longer than it would do. You'd obviously have Joffrey standing in the way, but removal on either one of them doesn't really help you at all and gets past this situation, so I don't think he's that good a card. With intelligence we've got Dremora Adept, Forces of Destruction, and Old Man Hannibal Trevin himself, before he popped himself up in the Mage's Guild quest side in Oblivion. Anyway, Dremora Adept is a 3 cost 4/3, which whenever she gains a keyword, you get the invade mechanic. See, this is kind of cool because when Oblivion Gates are at a high enough level, your Daedra cards get given a keyword for free, but when they're high up, you won't really be able to invade that much more, so it will max level, which makes this a bit kind of useless in that mechanic, but obviously there are other cards in the game which give out keywords, which will help a lot more. So it's definitely a good idea and fits in with the whole keyword and invade synergy. Second of all, Forces of Destruction, invade, then summon random Daedra, a total cost of 10. This is quite nice just because you're going to be getting units which are going to be buffed by your Oblivion Gate, which is summoned. And finally, Hannibal Trevin, well, he's just going to be a fancy little book, isn't he? He's only 7 cost, which in late game isn't that much of a hassle, and every time you play an action he learns it, and when he dies all of them go off at once. So if you say like just play a Firebolt and a Lightning Bolt on the same turn as that, that's already going to be 6 points of removal you can throw if you want, and that's just with 2 cards. So I feel like Hannibal Trevin is going to be one which your opponent's either going to be straight on the bat of getting rid of, or they're just going to see it hit the board and wait for you to kill it because they don't dare destroy it, which could also be quite amusing, to be honest. And last but possibly least, are the other cards, so Great Sigil Stone, Mankar Cameron, and Martin Septim / Sean Bean himself. So Great Sigil Stone is the only neutral legendary added with this collection, and it's a support card which, whenever activated, does the invade mechanic, and when he's destroyed, Stone, you can gender whatever you want, I've gendered it a he, it draws a random Daedra from your deck and buffs it. So it's quite nice, but for a unique legendary, it's not really that much. If you got to choose the Daedra it drew and it just buffed it by, say, +1/+1, I think that would be a lot better, just because it means that if this goes off early game or late game, you can choose what you want and helps you in your situation. Next we have Mankar Cameron, who, whenever you play an action, sorry, not him, the invade mechanic goes off and he buffs up your Oblivion Gates, so if your opponent tries to destroy them, it can kind of jab back at them. So that's quite nice, it's good and all, but it's not really anything that you jump on saying, I need this every turn. It's just a nice little extra bit to have with your cards. And finally, St. Martin Septim himself, the big boy, 4-cost, 3/7, who at the start of your turn, you gain all your unspent magicka from last turn. When you have 30 or more max magicka, he turns into an avatar of Akatosh. See, when I first saw this, what went through my head was, hang on, isn't the fact that you gain a bunch of magicka from your previous turns in a way better than the equivalent to Exodia effect, if you can hit directly? And I can obviously see with certain decks, which have a lot of high cost cards, you playing him just for that first effect. But honestly, he is still one of these cards which your opponent's just going to shut down as soon as they can. Although he has been blessed with being a 3-power unit, so that means Execute won't hit it and Fell the Mighty won't. So it's in that area where the least number of removal cards will actually just straight up destroy it, which is quite nice. Anyway, that's going to end this video. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Like I said, 25 likes and I'll do this for Moons of Elsewhere because I missed out on that one. I don't really see that happening as not many videos get over 20 likes. But yeah, hopefully I'll see you next time.